little bit of pink. So the sun, as low as it is on the horizon right now, is hitting the top of it. Okay, Chris, we understand there's a tornado on the ground. And just for a quick heads up, we do have safe location here in Memphis to go if it does get close to us.
Yeah, it's not far from you. Currently, Memphis not under warning. You are looking live at tornado on the ground here in Tunica, Mississippi. All right, so this is just south of the Memphis metro area. It is now crossing Mississippi, and we clearly now have a tornado. Look at the lowering of the cloud condensation, and then also likely debris being picked up on the bottom. That's what you're looking at. We're losing light, so it's really dark. But also look how fast it's moving. I mean, this camera we've been watching. He has to keep panning. Brett Adair, our storm tracker, is watching this very closely as it unfolds. And unfortunately, this is moving into a heavily populated southern part of the Memphis metro area. And it hasn't shown signs of weakening at all, guys. This is only getting stronger. You can see we always love to match the radar with visuals to show you ground truth of what we're looking at. This is a supercell right here. You have the hook, and the tornado is literally crossing over U.S. Highway 61 near North Tunica, Mississippi. Now, the resorts and the casinos, there's also an expo center, are right there in the heart of the heavy rain. Likely some hail being reported. Tornado passing just south there, but I know there's some RV parks, and hopefully all of those folks have taken shelter. And if you are approaching, or if you're driving, or maybe you're at the store running errands, I know there's Costco and Sam's Club and several big grocery store complexes, malls, shops, movie theaters, restaurants, all right here in Hernando and also South Haven, Mississippi. If we continue to track this out, it is moving in your general vicinity within the next 35 to 45 minutes. So please take a look at what you're looking at. You're looking live at a tornado on the ground in Tunica, Mississippi. Moving into the Memphis metro area on the south side of town. So there's U.S. Highway 61. The tornado is literally crossing Highway 61. We haven't talked to Brett Adair, but I assume he's near 61 or one of the side roads looking at it and in a safe location as it's crossing over the road. But tight couplet there. You have clear velocity returns, right? You have winds moving in one direction and then completely in the opposite direction, very close to one another. Look at how this is hooking around, all right? So this is showing signs of strengthening. Classic. Oh, there's Brett Adair. There's our storm tracker, Brett Adair. You can see he's looking north at the storm, the tornado, as it's crossing over the highway just to the south of all the resorts and casinos in Tunica, Mississippi. So we have a confirmed tornado, a lot of lightning with this storm. This storm means business. It is strengthening and has produced a tornado. Also, debris being prompted into the air as this cell now crosses into the south side of the Memphis metro area. This is far northwest Mississippi. It's a lone storm. We've got sunshine. We had a beautiful sunset here in Memphis and just to the west of town, but this storm now passing just south of downtown Memphis, Crittenden, DeSoto County. Now you're under the tornado warning. They've extended it a bit further north as it now is tracking towards the heavily populated southern suburbs of Memphis, Tennessee. Considerable threat tag as we track this through. So JD, do me a favor, track it up towards I-22 and Piperton. Let's bring it all the way up into southern Tennessee, and we'll track this because this is likely going to be on the ground for quite some time. We've seen this with the other cell that we were tracking out of Arkansas into Tennessee and causing extensive damage. So this gets into Hernando in about 25 minutes. South Haven right at the top of the hour. So you need to be in your safe place or heading to there right now if you live on the south side of Memphis, right there in northern Mississippi, DeSoto County, central, eastern DeSoto County, South Haven, Olive Branch, Hernando. Get into your safe place. And then the east side of Memphis, Germantown, and along the suburbs here along I-269, including Collierville, you need to start thinking about taking shelter in about 45 minutes from now as this tornado will be moving on the east side of some of the heavily populated suburbs of Memphis, all right? So downtown Memphis looks to be in the clear. We will likely miss this tornado to our south, but some of the heavier suburbs, highly populated and very busy on a Friday night, you need to get into your safe place. We know there's a Grizzlies game being played right now. Right now not under a tornado warning, but we're monitoring the situation closely. I'm sure there's a lot of events. It is a Friday, and we've got a confirmed tornado on the ground here in Tunica, Mississippi, now east of Highway 61, moving into Hernando. You got a lot of big outlet malls, shopping complexes, neighborhoods, golf courses, everything you can imagine here south of Mississippi. There's also the FedEx, the home plant here, and also the Memphis International Airport is just south of downtown Memphis near the state line. That would be a spot if we go under a warning and you're at the airport, you're going to need to go into those bathrooms that act as storm shelters, because this is moving in that vicinity, likely crossing over the bypass there, Interstate 269 as it crosses over I-55. So anyone south of Memphis along the I-55 corridor in Hernando, in South Haven, Mississippi, in Olive Branch, anywhere in DeSoto County as well as Crittenden County and Tunica County, take shelter immediately, as we've got a confirmed tornado now east of North Tunica, pushing towards Route 3 and not far from Interstate 69 on the south side of Memphis. So there's a look at the rotation. Notice how well it has held together as it worked its way through Arkansas, crossing into Mississippi. It almost looks like it's getting even more intense now as it's crossing. They just extended the tornado warning now, pushing east. I assume it's a particularly dangerous situation. As a considerable threat observed. We still don't have a tornado emergency, but it wouldn't surprise me if that were to be the next trigger, because it's moving into such a heavily populated area. PDS, all right, so particularly dangerous situation here, south side of Memphis, Tennessee, along that I-69, 269 corridor. You got I-22, which juts south and east to Holly Springs, Mississippi. The entire south side of Memphis, take shelter immediately. This supercell is headed directly your way, and because you're going to start as rain and then this tornado is going to come through, you're not going to see it. We're also into the night hours, and it's hard to make out the tornado unless it gets illuminated by some of the lightning. But we've already seen ground truth of that with our storm tracker, Brett Adair. He is monitoring this storm. You can see how it's now crossed over U.S. Highway 61. That's the route he's on. He's likely heading north, getting into some of that heavy rain, and we're continuing to track that. So that brings in a considerable threat tag here. Hernando, South Haven, and Collierville, Tennessee, Olive Branch, Mississippi, and Germantown. You'll be next in line with this tornado. As far as debris goes, again, aside from some of the resort casinos and some of the neighborhoods here, North Tunica, likely just missed by some of the tornado. However, some of the worst of the storm right there with hail and heavy high winds and heavy rainfall that pushed through. It's kind of a rural area, and then all of a sudden you get into all these neighborhoods on the south side of Memphis, okay? And this supercell has plenty of room to grow and move into some heavily populated areas. So we'll continue to monitor this on the south side of Memphis. Remember, the International Airport is on the south side, technically under the tornado warning right now. So take shelter if you're at the Memphis International Airport. If you're in northern Mississippi, anyone on the south side of Memphis, if you're at the store, you need to get in. Don't try and go home. If you're at the grocery store, if you're in the mall, if you're at the movie theater and this tornado, your phones are going off now because you're under the tornado warning and you're fearful, you don't know what to do, talk to somebody, get inside. Don't try and go home, because that's how people get into trouble. The roads get blocked, you get stuck, and you underestimate how fast these storms are moving. This storm is moving very quickly off towards the northeast and still has some concerning returns there in North Tunica, moving towards Hernando and South Haven, Mississippi. We did see a debris ball earlier, and since it crossed the river, we haven't seen anything pick up just yet, but we know there's a tornado on the ground. We saw it here in our storm tracker, Brett Adair shot, as he's monitoring those ominous skies on the south side of Memphis. So a lot to cover, Jackie. Very concerning situation, heavily populated area here on the south side of Memphis.
We're going to keep that up, even though we're going to go back to the Midwest to talk about the storms, because we want to continue to monitor the situation there in Tunica, Mississippi. And one of the things that I really want to point out is that it's really hard to tell if that's a rain shaft or a tornado anymore. It's tough to see. The sun's going down. Yeah. We've got a lot of rain associated with that storm. So actually, we want to get to our meteorologist, Chris Warren, now. He is in Memphis. And, Chris, this is just down towards your south. Looks like it should stay barely south of Memphis. Where are you in relation to that tornado? And I imagine as the sun is just about down all the way, you probably can't see too much, can you?
Right now, what we're looking at from the storm itself, Jackie, is right here. You see the nice top of it, and it took a while for it to reveal itself. Just over the past, say, 10 or 15 minutes, because it was kind of like just was all the same color, and we needed the sun to go down. Do you hear the siren?
Yeah.
Yep, they're loud, and they're not even technically under the warning. are you?
Well, parts of Shelby County.
Parts
Right,
of Shelby
unless
County.
it was for part of Shelby. Yeah, exactly. So parts of Shelby County. The winds are strong, but they've been strong all day. They've been gusting to 37 miles an hour or so quite frequently. But come over here, just get away from this pole for a second. So you've got a little bit of the anvil right here, the air going up, the very strong, intense updraft, and then it spreads out. And kind of in, I don't know if you can hear it again, but in that direction, up there, you can even see a little bit of Mattis cloud. So when the air goes up and it cools a little bit and then it sinks, you get the pouches kind of look, like a bag of marbles kind of extending from the underside of the anvil as the storm goes up and it gets that stable layer and spreads out. So again, underneath that right there, there's a whole lot of bad stuff going on right now with the heavy rain. Of course, the tornado, possibly a rain-wrapped tornado from what we were seeing there. Again, this is, we're live here in Memphis along the riverfront, but that is south of town now. And still seeing, I don't know how well if you guys are seeing any lightning, but every once in a while we're seeing flashes, not the bolts themselves, but we are seeing some flashes out of this. And yeah, you certainly can hear the sirens still.
Yeah, we can see a little bit of the glow sometimes, Chris. And just a moment ago, I thought I saw the overshooting top. I'm not sure. Your perspective, of course, much better than ours was. So that's where the updraft is. And if you see that, we know that that's a very mature supercell, and likely that updraft is still going up.
Right. So I'm not sure if we can see the actual overshooting part of it, but the edges of the anvil do have, so that's what you look at. When you look at the edges where the blue and the white is, you see every once in a while a little bit of ragged part of it, but where it's still really crisp looking, that's still developing. When you lose the punch, when the air kind of loses its momentum going up, it starts to get a little fuzzy around the edges. But as long as it has that very crisp, kind of like a fake cauliflower, like a shiny cauliflower look to it, and you might see not the whole thing, but like little pieces of that, that's still the developing part of the storm. And we certainly are still seeing a lot of flashes with this. Again, just another sign, that there's still a lot of rising air, a lot of charges moving around here. So still quite a bit of lightning associated with that. We've been watching the storm. It's still drifting in that direction, and that direction is east. So downtown is right here, and we've got blue sky over our head right now. In fact, we can even start to see some stars right now, but which serves as, I think, as a reminder that this threat does continue into the overnight. And as we were looking at that live camera of this storm right here, of the tornado at the surface, a reminder that just how much more dangerous it is at night when we're talking about tornadoes. And of course, guys, as we have seen the day unfold and as what we're seeing going forward with all of the active warnings and what is still possible, really got to hope people are paying attention to what's going on.
Yeah, you really do. Also, I just might want to mention too, Chris, that we're keeping an eye on Doppler radar, not just there right where you are, but also off to your west into eastern Arkansas. We're starting to see new storms beginning to develop. They are not severe. They're not powerful right now, but it does tell you that the atmosphere is still ripe and it's still capable of producing additional storms. So that's one of the big takeaways here, I think, tonight is just make sure that you are aware that storms are going to be coming in rounds, and they may be developing and happening more than once. Now let's get on up to the northern tier of all this right now, where we've got some new tornado warnings in the state of Illinois on up into Wisconsin. I just want to update our friends in Iowa, too, by the way. You are out of it. You're done. Your severe weather is over. In fact, speaking of Iowa, since I'm there, let's just go ahead and show some of those pictures that are just in from eastern Iowa and Coralville. So this is just north of Iowa City in eastern Iowa, where we did have a tornado touchdown. We saw it on Doppler radar. We had radar-confirmed tornadoes, and unfortunately, it did cause a fair amount of damage. There you can see vehicles that have been overturned here. Again, this is Coralville, just north of Iowa City. All right, let's get back to the radar right now and update you on some of these tornado warnings. These are going to be tornadoes that spin up very quickly, but also can touch down and stay on the ground for quite some time. We want to give folks a heads up in Chicago that this line of storms is headed your way, damaging winds and possible rotation as it gets closer. We do have a tornado warning in effect that includes you in Rockford right now, DeKalb and Ogle County. counties. That storm has a history of ground truth, of confirmed tornadoes from time to time. Right now, it's just Doppler radar indicated, so we're going to have to continue to monitor that and keep a very close eye on that. We're starting to get some storms working their way on up into the state of Wisconsin as well. In fact, parts of Dane County under a warning.
Kellogg's Rice Krispies Treats. Connect on a sweeter